Kindly like this video and hit that subscribe button and join our YouTube family. Let's start with second part, Kody's face drained of color. Financial abuse, he repeated, as though the words themselves had struck him. Yes, the judge replied firmly. That is the term. The courtroom froze. The phrase hung in the air like a verdict already passed. This was no longer a dispute over property or marital arrangements. It was no longer about who lived where or who paid what. A state judge had now formally declared Kody Brown's conduct abusive, not with fists, not with bruises, but with control, manipulation, and deliberate financial dependency disguised as equality. Whispers rippled through the gallery until the judge slammed her gavel. This is your warning. One more interruption, and I will clear the courtroom. She turned her attention to Janelle. Mrs. Brown, please rise. Janelle stood calmly, unflinching. Her eyes never left the bench. There was no anger in her posture, no triumph, only resolve. You have been composed, dignified, and brave in the face of systemic economic oppression, the judge said. The court recognizes your restraint. Then came the ruling that shifted everything. As of today, this court issues a preliminary injunction freezing all assets held under any LLC, trust, or private account belonging to Mr. Kody Brown or Mrs. Robyn Brown, pending final redistribution. Robyn gasped aloud. Kody's hands clenched into fists. The judge continued without pause. A forensic auditor will assume control of all financial records from 2010 to the present. Any further concealment or redirection of funds may result in referral to state financial crimes investigation. Christine's eyes widened. This had gone far beyond anything anyone imagined. You will provide tax returns, business permits, and personal bank statements within 7 days, the judge concluded. Refusal will be considered contempt. Kody stammered, attempting to speak. I was trying to protect. The gavel struck again. Enough. Protect who, Mr. Brown? Yourself? Silence swallowed the room. You did not protect the wives who funded your career, the judge continued. You did not protect the woman who lived in an RV while you renovated a mansion. You did not protect the mother of 6 who was denied access to money she helped create. You protected the fiction that you were in charge. And that fiction ends today. Robyn collapsed into her chair, sobbing. Kody slumped beside her, panic etched across his face. He had lost something irretrievable, not money, not property, but the appearance of integrity. The court sees through you, the judge concluded. The public is not fooled. And this court will no longer tolerate religious lifestyle being used as cover for greed and ruthlessness. With that, she adjourned the session. Outside, chaos erupted. News vans clogged the streets. Reporters shouted into microphones. Live streamers broadcast breathlessly from courthouse steps. Within minutes, headlines exploded across every platform. Financial abuse declared. Judge freezes Kody Brown's empire. Robyn breaks down in court. The phrase financial abuse went viral. Clips of the judge's ruling spread across TikTok, Instagram, and X by the thousands. NBC. National outlets picked it up. This was no longer a family scandal. It was a national reckoning. Inside the courtroom, as Janelle quietly gathered her belongings, she turned to Christine and whispered, "That's the first time anyone ever called it what it really was." Christine replied softly, "And the last time he'll ever get away with it." By the time Session 8 opened the following day, the world had changed. News trucks lined the sidewalk. Drones hovered overhead. Fans waved signs reading Team Janelle and Justice for Christine. TikTok creators live-streamed with ring lights as thousands waited for updates on what the media now called the sister wives trial of the decade. Inside the courtroom, cameras were barred, but the storm only intensified. The judge declared that all prior testimony was now part of permanent public record. Financial exploitation. Hidden LLCs, $2. $4 million in diverted funds. Every document was now available to reporters, bloggers, and the public. Within hours, YouTube filled with analysis videos. Legal experts dissected spreadsheets. Financial commentators traced the money trail. Former fans, once reduced to speculation, now had evidence, and the conversation went global. Then came the bombshell. An anonymous account called Truth from Inside posted a never-before-seen video. It showed Kody and Robyn in a private residence, laughing, joking about dodging tax audits, mocking Janelle's attempts to access shared equity. She still thinks she has a vote, Robyn laughed, sipping from a crystal glass. Let her ask, Kody replied. She'll never see a penny. The video exploded. 14 million views in 6 hours. Rage flooded the comments. Former crew members spoke out. A producer admitted scenes were deliberately ignored. An editor revealed Robyn had final cut privileges on episodes that portrayed her negatively. The carefully manicured narrative collapsed overnight. TLC entered crisis mode. Sponsors pulled out. Production paused. Rumors swirled that Netflix was negotiating a docuseries with Janelle and Christine. Then Janelle spoke. Late that night, on her rarely used YouTube channel, a simple video appeared. A few things I need to say.
No intro.
No music. Just Janelle, sitting in natural light. I stayed silent for 20 years because I thought silence kept the peace, she said. But it only made me invisible. She spoke calmly, honestly, about nights crying in parking lots with no money for gas, about rationing supplies while Robyn's home consumed thousands monthly in utilities, about being told, repeatedly, don't worry, Kody has it handled. Love without access is control, she said. Trust without transparency is abuse. By morning, the video had crossed 20 million views. Therapists shared it. Survivors quoted it. Celebrities amplified it. The hashtag #IamJanelle flooded social media. When court reconvened, the judge acknowledged the video as a culturally significant record of economic harm. I hope you heard her, the judge told Kody. Because the world certainly did. What followed was Kody's undoing. An Instagram live rant. Contradictions. Gaslighting. If I had to do it all over again, he said, laughing nervously, I wouldn't change a thing. The quote went viral for all the wrong reasons. Janelle's attorneys submitted the video as evidence. The judge granted the motion. Soon after, enforcement began. Assets were traced. Liens filed. The Flagstaff mansion scheduled for sale. Royalties redirected. The $2.7 million restitution order enforced in real time. This is not revenge, the judge said. This is equilibrium. Janelle sat quietly as the empire fell, not smiling, not celebrating, just witnessing the end of something that had stolen decades of her life. Outside, the world had already rendered its verdict. Janelle Brown was no longer invisible. She was unstoppable. The judge delivered one final, devastating blow. This court hereby imposes an immediate freeze on all pending and future book deals, brand endorsements, speaking engagements, and media projects involving Mr. Kody Brown and Mrs. Robyn Brown, she declared. Unless 40% of all proceeds are contractually directed to Mrs. Janelle Brown until the full $2.7 million judgment is satisfied. The words hit like a controlled demolition. Robyn did not cry. She screamed. You can't do this, she shouted, her voice cracking with fury and fear. You're ruining our lives. The judge did not flinch. You ruined your own lives, she said coldly. Kody said nothing. For the first time in the entire trial, he did not argue, deflect, or posture. He sat motionless, his face drained of color, eyes hollow, staring at nothing. It was the expression of a man finally realizing that the empire he believed he had built was never truly his to command. Session 11 ended with absolute finality. As the judge exited, the courtroom emptied in stunned silence. Outside, reporters surged toward Janelle, shouting questions about justice, closure, and revenge. She paused only once. I didn't come here for revenge, she said quietly. I came here for what I earned. I'm leaving with it. And now I'm going home. Behind her, the courthouse doors closed on decades of betrayal, silence, and control. Ahead of her lay a chapter no one, not even she, had once believed possible. The following morning something shifted. Not in the headlines. Not in the courtroom, but in Janelle herself. For the first time in over 20 years, she did not walk into court bracing for conflict. She entered with stillness, the kind that only comes after victory has already been claimed. Session 12 was not about proving anything anymore. It was about watching the final fractures of a once formidable empire collapse under the weight of its own deception. She entered flanked by Christine on one side and two of her children on the other. No applause followed.
No shouting.
Just a quiet, shared understanding among everyone present. The woman once underestimated now held the most power in the room. Then came the surprise. Mary sat silently in the gallery all morning, dressed in black, hair pulled tight, eyes forward. When recess was called, she stood. Without looking at Kody, she walked to the center of the room and addressed the bench. "Your Honor," she began, voice trembling but steady, "I understand I am not a plaintiff in this case, but I would like to file my own motion to reopen access to the original family trust agreements." The courtroom froze. "I have questions," Mary continued. "Questions I've been too afraid to ask for years." Even Janelle turned in her seat, stunned. The judge leaned forward. "Are you seeking legal standing as a co-contributor to the Brown Family Trust?" "Yes," Mary said. "I believe I was excluded as well. Maybe not as visibly, but deliberately." Kody leapt to his feet. "Mary, please," he pleaded. "Not you."
Not now.
She didn't look at him. "You did this," she said quietly. "To all of us. And I'm done protecting you." The judge nodded. "A formal review will be allowed. Your motion will be considered as a separate filing." Just like that, a second front opened, led by the one woman who had defended Kody longer than anyone else. As proceedings resumed, the court-appointed financial executive returned with updates. "The Flagstaff property has been listed for expedited sale," he reported. 3 private offers have already been received. 1 luxury vehicle has been surrendered for liquidation. Streaming royalties and merchandise revenue have been redirected. As of today, 41% of the judgment owed to Mrs. Janelle Brown has been satisfied. Kody stared at the table, defeated. Robyn clutched tissues, whispering prayers, still struggling to comprehend how quickly her world was dissolving. Janelle remained composed. This was no longer about money. This was about dignity. The judge praised the speed and precision of compliance, then turned to Janelle's attorney. "Is your client satisfied with the restitution process?" "She is," the attorney replied. "And she requests that once full restitution is completed, the case be dismissed without further litigation." "Granted," the judge said. Then she added something unexpected. "Mrs. Brown, would you like to address the court?" Janelle rose slowly. When she spoke, she didn't look at Kody or Robyn. She looked at her children. "I just want to say thank you," she said. "You believed me when I couldn't explain what was happening. You stood by me when I had nothing left. And you reminded me I wasn't crazy, I was silenced." She turned slightly toward the room. "I spent years believing love meant sacrifice. That peace required my silence. That if I stayed quiet, I'd eventually be valued. But I wasn't, and I never was going to be." You could hear a pin drop. "This court didn't just give me restitution," she continued. "It gave me visibility. It said out loud that I mattered." She looked to the judge. "Thank you for seeing me." The judge nodded, visibly moved. "You've set a precedent, Mrs. Brown, not just legally but culturally." As headlines raced out, "Mary joins the fight. Flagstaff mansion listed, 41% restitution paid." Another headline spread silently, written across Janelle's face. "Freedom." The judge adjourned, announcing a final review hearing pending full compliance. Christine squeezed Janelle's hand at the door. "You did it," she whispered. "No," Janelle replied, glancing back toward where Mary had stood moments earlier. "We're doing it." They walked into the sunlight together. But the case was not finished yet. At the final full-day compliance review, just when closure seemed imminent, a new revelation ignited the courtroom. A former financial consultant contacted Janelle's legal team anonymously after seeing her viral video. He requested to testify under oath. His name was Damon Hartley. He took the stand holding a flash drive, a signed NDA release, and a detailed financial chronology. I advised Mr. Brown during the Flagstaff transition, Hartley testified. I warned him repeatedly that what he was doing was unethical.
He paused.
He told me, "This isn't stealing. It's strategy. They don't ask because they don't get it." Gasps echoed through the gallery. Hartley presented documentation, shell companies, P.O. box addresses, wire transfers. They were funnels, he said. Every one of them led to accounts accessible only by Mr. Brown. Were the wives informed? The judge asked. Not once, Hartley replied. The judge's gavel struck. This court now reclassifies the damages as breach of fiduciary trust and intentional misrepresentation, she declared. Effective immediately. The ruling didn't just end the case. It rewrote the rules. The courtroom did not erupt after the judge's last declaration. It fell into a silence, so deep it felt deliberate, reverent, like everyone present understood they were witnessing something irreversible. The reclassification of damages changed everything. What had begun as restitution was now something heavier, sharper. A breach of fiduciary trust. Intentional misrepresentation. Language that carried consequences beyond money, beyond property, beyond reputation. Language that followed people long after courtrooms emptied. The judge leaned forward, her voice controlled but unmistakably severe. Mr. Brown, she said, this court finds that you knowingly positioned yourself as the sole financial authority while deliberately excluding co-contributors from information, access, and consent. That is not leadership. That is exploitation. Kody did not respond. He stared straight ahead, jaw tight, shoulders slumped. The man who once filled rooms with noise, justification, and self-righteous certainty now looked reduced to a shell, present in body only, emptied of narrative. Robyn's quiet sobbing grew uneven. Her hands trembled in her lap as if she were finally grasping that there would be no reversal, no appeal to emotion, no last-minute rescue. The judge continued. This court is also issuing an injunction prohibiting Mr. Brown from acting as a centralized financial authority for any plural or communal family arrangement unless all adult parties execute written agreements guaranteeing full transparency, shared control, and independent oversight.
She paused.
This provision will be filed under the state's amended Plural Family Financial Protection Clause. Effective immediately. A murmur rippled through the room. Not gossip, not outrage, but recognition. Legal analysts in the gallery exchanged looks. This wasn't just a ruling. It was precedent. The Brown case had just altered the framework. The court-appointed executive returned to the stand one final time, voice steady as he delivered what felt like a closing inventory of an era. As of this afternoon, he reported, liquidation proceedings are underway on all remaining non-essential assets. Streaming revenue redirection continues. Estimated full restitution is projected within 37 days, pending final property sale. 37 days. Kody exhaled for the first time in minutes, but it was not relief. It was resignation. The judge looked once more at Janelle. Mrs. Brown, she said, this court recognizes your request for closure without prolonged litigation. Once restitution is satisfied, the civil portion of this case will be formally closed. Then, carefully, she added, however, findings related to fiduciary breach may be referred independently to the appropriate authorities. Robyn's head snapped up. Wait, she whispered. What does that mean? The judge did not soften her tone. It means this court's responsibility is complete. Others may decide what follows. The gavel struck. Session 12 ended. But no one moved. It was Janelle who stood first. She gathered her papers, not hurriedly, not ceremoniously, just calmly, as someone closing a chapter already processed internally. As she turned to leave, Kody finally looked at her. Their eyes met for a brief moment. There was no anger in her expression.
No accusation. No satisfaction.
Only clarity. And that, more than any ruling, seemed to break him. Outside, the courthouse steps glowed in the late afternoon sun. Cameras surged forward. Microphones stretched toward her, voices overlapping. Janelle, Do you feel vindicated? Do you forgive him? Is this the end? She raised one hand gently, not to command silence, but to ask for it. This isn't about winning, she said. It's about truth catching up. Then she stepped back, her children closing in around her, Christine beside her, Mary a few paces behind, no longer aligned by obligation, but by choice. Across the street, Kody and Robyn exited separately. Robyn shielded her face, shoulders hunched, her voice caught somewhere between anger and fear. Kody walked alone.
No entourage. No defenders.
Just a man crossing concrete with the weight of his own decisions finally pressing down without buffer or illusion. That night, the internet tried to crown a villain. But something unexpected happened instead. The conversation shifted. Survivors shared stories, not just of money taken, but of silence enforced. Lawyers discussed fiduciary ethics in domestic partnerships. Therapists spoke about how control hides inside devotion. Financial advocates clipped the judge's words and played them again and again. This is not leadership. This is exploitation. And at the center of it all was Janelle, not shouting, not celebrating, not rewriting history, just standing in it. 37 days later, restitution was completed. The Flagstaff properties sold quietly, without spectacle. The final transfer cleared. The court issued its closing notice on the civil case. No press conference followed. Instead, Janelle posted a single photo online, a sunrise through a kitchen window.
No caption. No hashtags.
Those who understood, understood. The Brown Empire did not collapse in flames. It ended in paperwork, in signatures, in silence. And for the first time in decades, that silence did not belong to Kody. It belonged to a woman who had reclaimed it and chose peace instead. Kody Brown was no longer just losing assets. He was losing something far more permanent, his ability to ever hold power like this again. Outside the courthouse, the crowd erupted. The reaction was immediate and explosive. Within minutes, the news spread across every platform. Breach of trust confirmed. Kody Brown's actions now legally restricted. Court establishes new precedent following Janelle Brown's case. TikTok reaction videos flooded timelines. YouTubers who had followed the case since Session 1 went live in real time, narrating history as it unfolded. Legal analysts across major networks confirmed what everyone was beginning to understand. Session 13 had transformed a family lawsuit into a legal landmark. Inside the courthouse, proceedings reconvened for final compliance reports. The court-appointed financial executive stood with precision and certainty, confirming that the Flagstaff mansion had officially sold through a rapid private transaction. All remaining liquid assets had already been wired directly into Janelle Brown's trust account. As of this morning, he stated clearly, the entire $2.7 million judgment has been paid in full, with interest. The judge nodded once. Final order recorded. Case to be closed at the next session. But before moving on, she turned back to Janelle. Mrs. Brown, the judge asked, is there anything you would like to place into the record? Janelle rose slowly. She did not step forward.
She didn't need to.
Her voice carried across the room like a steady tide. I want it known that I did not do this out of hate, she said. I did this so no other woman, no wife, no mother, no daughter, feels like she has to smile through silence ever again. Christine stood beside her. Then Mary. Then Gabe. Then Savannah. Slowly, the entire gallery rose. For a moment, Janelle was no longer a plaintiff or a headline. She became something else entirely, the face of every woman told to wait, to trust, to stay quiet while everything she helped build was taken from her. Session 13 ended not with shouting, but with silence. Not a strangling silence, but a sacred one. The kind that comes only after justice has finally been spoken aloud. And Session 14 began under open skies. By morning, the crowd outside the courthouse had tripled. It felt as though the world itself sensed history was about to be sealed within those four walls. When Janelle emerged from the black SUV, she wore a navy blue blazer and walked flanked by Christine and Mary, this time not cautiously, but with purpose. Cameras flashed, not with chaos, but with reverence. This was no longer spectacle. This was legacy. Inside, the atmosphere was intense, yet almost ceremonial. The judge, now herself an icon of restraint and authority in this unprecedented trial, brought the court to order and began reading the final audit findings with razor clarity. This court verifies that the entire judgment of $2,700,000 has been satisfied. All assets confirmed. All transfers completed. No objections filed.
She paused.
Additionally, the amended statute on plural family financial safeguards has officially been submitted to the State Legislative Review Board as of this morning. We are not simply closing a case. We are setting a precedent. Quiet applause rippled through the room. Unorthodox, but allowed. This court recognizes not only justice served to Mrs. Janelle Brown, the judge continued, but also the profound impact this case has had on redefining responsibility within non-traditional domestic structures. Then, directly to Janelle, you stood in strength, in silence, and finally in truth. This court sees you, and this country now sees you too. Janelle nodded. She did not cry. She had already shed those tears in trailers over unopened emails, in kitchens she built but never called home. Today was not about grief. It was about reclamation. Before the court could recess, a bailiff handed the judge a sealed envelope. She scanned its contents. "We have received a signed statement of compliance and concession from Mr. Kody Brown," she announced. Kody was not present. His absence said everything. The statement read, "I acknowledge the rulings of this court and accept the judgment in its entirety. I consent to the termination of my administrative control over any family trusts, effective immediately." It was not warm. It was not remorseful. But it was binding. And that mattered more. Robyn, too, was absent. She submitted a quiet petition to remove her name from all public-facing business entities associated with the Brown family brand. It was accepted without comment. Her silence, once mistaken for innocence, now echoed hollow. Then something no one expected happened. Janelle stepped forward again. "Your Honor," she said calmly, "I would like to allocate $50,000 of my restitution toward establishing a foundation that supports women escaping financial control." The judge blinked back emotion. "I want them to have what I never had," Janelle continued. "A way out, and a way forward." The courtroom erupted in respectful applause, joined by legal staff, the gallery, and even the bailiff. The media moved instantly. Janelle Brown launches Visible Wife Foundation. From silence to systemic change. Outside the courthouse, a reporter asked one final question. "What do you say to women still stuck in silence?" Janelle smiled softly. "You're not stuck," she said. "You're just waiting to hear yourself say it's time." Those words went viral. Posters, murals, tattoos, phone screens. She was no longer a reality TV figure. She had become a movement. Mary filed her own trust audit that same afternoon. Christine announced her memoir, Unscripted, What They Didn't Show You. Netflix entered negotiations for a documentary following the foundation's work. Kody and Robyn disappeared from public life. TLC removed them from future campaigns. Public opinion, once divided, now stood overwhelmingly with the women. Session 14 ended not with conflict, but with bloom. Continuation. Beyond the last transcript, Session 15 opened without a gavel. It opened with a standing ovation. Janelle entered alone. No attorneys. No cameras crowding her path. She wore a simple white blouse and flowing gray pants. Not dressed to battle. Dressed to complete. The gallery stood as one. The judge arrived moments later, smiling faintly for the first time in the entire trial. "This court acknowledges complete satisfaction of restitution," she said. "The case of Janelle Brown versus Kody Brown and Robyn Brown is officially closed." Then something unprecedented happened. The judge stepped down from the bench and personally handed Janelle the signed order. "No cameras," she whispered. "Just this moment." Janelle looked at the papers. Once symbols of loss, now proof of freedom. "Thank you," she said quietly. Before adjournment, the judge gave her the floor. "This was never about money," Janelle said. "It was about dignity." about how women give and are taught to expect nothing in return. Love isn't sacrifice when only one person is bleeding. She paused. Power disguised as love becomes a prison. The room held its breath. You don't need permission to be important. You don't need an apology to heal. You can rescue yourself. The gavel fell. Outside, supporters filled the steps. Christine and Mary stood beside her. Former rivals turned allies. Grants were announced. Retreats planned. Stories reclaimed. The final image was not Janelle leaving court. It was Janelle walking toward a community of women, arms open, voices ready, no longer invisible. This was not a courtroom drama. It was a revolution. And it did not end here. It began here. Don't forget to like this video and hit that subscribe button and join our YouTube family. Thank you for your support. New videos are coming very soon.